Hello everyone. Today, I bring you a famous case that occurred in Occitanie, southern France, over a decade ago. This case revolves around a ballet teacher who mysteriously disappeared while on her way home. Occitanie is one of the largest administrative regions in France, comprising over 10 departments with its capital in Toulouse. The region is home to many world-leading research and development organizations and boasts the highest employment rate in the country. It is also a major center for science and education in France, with dozens of universities. In fact, in 2019, Toulouse was voted by French students as the best city for university studies. A city like this naturally fosters many intellectuals. The central figure in today's story is Susan, a ballet teacher whom her family and close friends affectionately call Susie. Her husband, Victor, is a law professor at Toulouse University. The couple, who are 4 years apart, met as students and married thereafter. After more than 10 years of marriage, they had 3 children, a daughter and twin boys. The family of 5 lived in a quiet apartment in the Lalande district, southeast of Toulouse. It was a 2-story villa with a garden. After 12 years of marriage, their relationship began to show signs of strain, frequently resulting in arguments. The root of the trouble was that in 1995, Susie accidentally discovered evidence of her husband's infidelity with a university student. This revelation was a huge shock for Susie. Heartbroken and disheartened, she initially wanted to divorce Victor, but hesitated for the sake of their 3 young children. Despite not divorcing, the couple no longer shared a bed and lived in separate rooms. Susie moved upstairs to a different room with a sofa bed, and this arrangement lasted for 3 years. At the age of 36, Susie met a building materials salesman named Dominique. He was 5 years younger than her, but due to their emotional connection, their relationship quickly developed into a romance. Dominique frequently visited Susie at home, but Victor was unaware, believing Dominique to be merely a close friend of his wife. As Susie's friends often visited their home and had a good relationship with the family, Victor considered Dominique a trustworthy person and occasionally asked him to help look after their 3 children. As Susie and Dominique's relationship grew deeper, Susie decided to file for divorce from Victor after 2 years of dating Dominique. However, just before the scheduled meeting with the lawyer, Susie suddenly disappeared under mysterious circumstances. So what happened? To uncover the truth, let's rewind to March 1st, 2000. It was a Wednesday, and the weather in Toulouse was still a bit chilly. That afternoon, a man walked into the Toulouse police station, Susie's husband, Victor, 43 years old. He reported that his 39-year-old wife, Susie, had been missing for 4 days and was unreachable. Hoping the police could investigate, the police had already been aware of Susie's disappearance because a few hours earlier, Susie's 34-year-old lover, Dominique, had reported it. Dominique not only reported Susie missing, but also suggested that the case might involve her husband, Victor. Dominique told the police that he and Susie had left Toulouse on the morning of Saturday, February 26th, and traveled to a city 50 kilometers away to attend a tarot tournament. Tarot is a card game usually played by 3 to 5 people. The couple played at the tournament until 4:30 a.m. on February 27th, when Dominique dropped Susie off at home, and they said goodbye. They had planned to call each other at 1:45 p.m. on February 27th. Fearing she might oversleep, Susie set an alarm. Dominique went home and took a nap, waking up around noon. By then, it was past the scheduled call time, and he hadn't received any call from Susie. He found it odd and tried calling her, but received no answer. Dominique decided to go to Susie's house, but found no one there. On the second morning after Susie's disappearance, at 9 a.m., Dominique returned to Susie's house, where Victor and the 3 children were present. Victor also noticed the absence of Susie, and they searched the house together, finding a letter in the bathroom. They also discovered the clothes Susie had worn to the tarot tournament, along with a pair of glasses and eye drops, but not her handbag. Dominique felt something bad might have happened to Susie and urged Victor to report it to the police. But Victor refused. Recently, Susie had repeatedly talked to Victor about wanting a divorce. but Victor had firmly opposed it. They frequently argued, even in front of Dominique. Therefore, Dominique suspected Victor might be involved in Susie's disappearance. On the third morning since Susie's disappearance, Victor took the 3 children out of the house. After they left, the housekeeper entered. On the 4th day, Dominique went to the police and expressed his suspicions. A few hours later, Victor also reported his wife missing. He stated that his relationship with Susie had been strained, and they had been sleeping in separate rooms for 5 years. On the evening of February 26th, when Victor returned home, he did not find Susie but was indifferent and went to his own room to sleep. At midnight, Victor heard footsteps upstairs and assumed it was Susie coming home. The next morning at 8:30 a.m., when Victor went to the bathroom, he saw someone lying on the sofa through the gap in the door to Susie's room, but couldn't tell if it was Susie or their 11-year-old daughter. That afternoon, Victor had planned to send the 3 children to their grandparents' house for lunch. After cleaning up, Victor went to the room of his 2 sons and woke them up. At 10 a.m., the grandparents arrived to pick up the 11-year-old granddaughter and the 8-year-old twins to take them to their house, leaving Victor alone at home. At 10:45 a.m., Victor left the house alone and went for a run along the river. During his run, Victor called his parents, saying he might be home late. After 11:30 a.m., Victor returned home and, seeing Susie's room door closed, assumed she was still sleeping and didn't want to disturb her. By 12:30 p.m., Victor drove to his parents' house and called Susie several times, but she did not answer. After the family had finished lunch, Susie still hadn't picked up. However, given their strained relationship and Susie's frequent lack of response, Victor wasn't too worried. He spent the afternoon with the 3 children, taking them to the movies and the park. At 6:30 p.m., Victor returned home with the children, but still did not find his wife. He then took the children to a pizza place for dinner. That evening, Victor received a call from Dominique, who was frantic and did not know where Susie was. After ending the call, Victor searched the house, but still did not find her. He told Dominique that Susie's favorite handbag was missing, suggesting she had gone out, though he did not know where she had gone. In the following days, Victor repeatedly tried to contact Susie without success. Concerned, he eventually reported her missing to the police. During questioning, Victor displayed no signs of worry. Before her disappearance, Susie had expressed her desire to divorce him, and they had scheduled a meeting with a lawyer to discuss the divorce. As a result, the police suspected Victor had a motive for the crime. His behavior was also considered suspicious. Coupled with Dominique's testimony, Victor became the prime suspect in the case. The police's task now is to find evidence to continue their investigation. According to Victor's testimony, he left home at 10:45 a.m. to go for a run along the river and returned at 11:30 a.m. The police checked the river area mentioned by Victor, but no one was able to confirm seeing him during that time, which cast doubt on the reliability of his statement. To gather more evidence, the police began monitoring Victor. About 8 days later, Victor flew to Strasbourg, a city in eastern France near the German border. His mother came to stay with his 3 children temporarily. 2 days later, Victor returned to Toulouse and visited relatives. The following day, the police summoned Victor again, accusing him of kidnapping. They inquired if he was aware of the relationship between Susie and Dominique. Victor stated that he considered Dominique a trustworthy friend and confidant of his wife, occasionally asking him to look after their children. Around 2 p.m. that day, Victor left the police station and went home, where he washed the bed linens and disposed of Susie's mattress at a nearby landfill. 2 weeks after Susie went missing, the police, having obtained permission, searched Victor's home. They found significant blood stains on the first-floor staircase and in the bathroom. However, they did not find Susie's wallet or keys in her room. Other personal items belonging to Susie were still in the house, with no signs of her having left voluntarily, which raised suspicions among the detectives. They also discovered a sofa on the second floor in the familiar room, but found no mattress, leading them to suspect that Victor might have committed the crime on the bed and subsequently disposed of both Susie and the mattress. Initially, Victor claimed that Susie had complained about the discomfort of the mattress, which is why he had thrown it away the day before. However, he later changed his story, saying that after learning of Susie's affair with Dominique, he felt betrayed. Upon returning home and seeing Susie's belongings, especially the mattress, he became increasingly unstable and angry, prompting him to dispose of it at the landfill. Following this lead, the police searched the landfill but learned that a large fire had occurred there 2 days after Victor discarded the mattress, destroying many items. After an extensive search, the investigators only found a burned mattress but could not retrieve any useful evidence from it. Regarding the blood found at the house, Victor explained that he had suffered from nosebleeds since childhood, and the blood could have come from a minor accident. He also mentioned that Susie, who enjoyed gardening, often had minor injuries, making the presence of blood in the house not unusual. At this point, the police were still unable to confirm whether Susie was missing or had been murdered. They released information about the case in hopes of finding clues. A taxi driver reported seeing an older woman carrying a handbag walking toward a nearby train station on the day Susie disappeared, but was unsure if it was Susie. 16 days after Susie went missing, 2 police officers found a wallet on the streets of Toulouse. Unable to identify the owner, they stored it in evidence. Later, it was confirmed that the wallet belonged to Susie, with the current evidence pointing to Victor having a clear motive and the opportunity to commit the crime. He became the primary suspect 2 months after Susie's disappearance. With no trace of her found and no records of her leaving the country or signs of her being alive, the police officially arrested Victor on charges of murder, although he maintained his innocence and claimed not to know Susie's whereabouts. The prosecutor stated that the current evidence was insufficient to convict Victor, and the primary task was to find Susie's body. The prosecutor was convinced that Victor orchestrated Susie's disappearance, leading to a large-scale search in the surrounding forests, deep wells, and rivers. Despite the extensive effort, no results were achieved due to the difficulties in gathering evidence. The trial was repeatedly delayed. The judge decided to detain Victor until the trial. The case generated significant local interest and media coverage. In interviews, Victor admitted to a past relationship with Susie's former student. Some reports suggested that Susie's disappearance might be a well-planned crime by her husband, a theory that gained considerable support and placed immense pressure on Victor. 8 months after Victor's arrest, the prosecution had still not gathered enough evidence to prove his guilt. The court acknowledged that although Victor had a strong motive, there was a lack of evidence to justify continued detention, and insisting on it could be considered a legal violation. Therefore, Victor was temporarily released and gradually returned to his normal life, resuming his teaching position at the university. Due to the prosecution's lack of evidence and other reasons, the trial faced continual delays. It wasn't until April 2009, after 8 years, that the case went to court. Victor was charged with killing his wife. The prosecution argued that if Susie had voluntarily left home, she would have taken her clothes and money, but all these items remained in the house. Additionally, there were suspicions because Victor had claimed Susie took a handbag with her, but it was found hidden under a cabinet. On the day Susie went missing, Victor's 3 children were taken away at 10 a.m., leaving only Victor at home. Victor's claim of running by the river from 10:45 to 11:30 a.m. was unsupported by any witnesses. Furthermore, the police pointed out that on March 8th, 8 days after Susie's disappearance, Victor had returned home from the police station at 2:30 p.m., washed bed linens, and discarded the mattress at the La landfill, which could indicate an attempt to destroy evidence. Thus, Victor was not only a suspect with a possible motive, but also exhibited suspicious behavior. The police called Susie's family members to testify, who stated that Susie loved her 3 children and would not have abandoned them. During the trial, one of Susie's relatives firmly accused Victor of killing Susie and pleaded for him to reveal her body's location. The defense attorney argued that the prosecution had no direct evidence and the testimonies collected did not form a complete chain of evidence. making it impossible to convict the defendant based solely on these. The defense called Susie's mother as a witness, who surprisingly believed Victor to be innocent and suggested that Susie might still be alive and hiding on a remote island. Victor also declared in court, "I did not kill her, and I want everyone to know that I did not kill her." After 10 days of trial, a verdict was reached. The court declared Victor not guilty of murder and released him. The prosecution disagreed with the verdict and filed an appeal. 11 months later, an appellate court was held where the prosecution continued to accuse Victor of murder, seeking a sentence of 15 to 20 years. Victor hired 2 renowned lawyers to defend him. The couple's nanny revealed a crucial detail. On the 3rd day after Susie went missing, which was the morning of February 29th, Victor took their 3 children to their grandfather's house alone. The house was empty that day, as the nanny had just arrived. She had a key and was able to enter. However, Dominique was actually sitting in a nearby car at that time. He told the nanny that he also wanted to enter the house. This was a critical detail the nanny had not mentioned before, and she only disclosed it during the second trial. It is noteworthy that in the preliminary trial, as a witness, the nanny had concealed Dominique's entry into the house. Why did she do that? The nanny claimed that Dominique instructed her to testify in this manner. Dominique was later investigated for obstruction of justice for interfering with the nanny's testimony. The defense hypothesized that Dominique was the real perpetrator. He allegedly took Susie's handbag after she went missing and used the opportunity to hide the handbag under a wardrobe while entering the house with the nanny, aiming to frame the victim's husband. During the trial, Dominique appeared calm, dressed in a dark blue shirt and black trousers, wearing glasses as he testified. Dominique's defense attorney argued that these claims were entirely unfounded. Based on the existing evidence, Susie's handbag contained a key to the house. If Dominique had wanted to hide the handbag inside the house, he could have used the key to enter the house at a suitable time, rather than doing so through the nanny. Ultimately, the court found Dominique not guilty of murder. A film about the case was released in France in October 2018. At the end of the film, the defense attorney not only defended Victor, but also sought to identify the real perpetrator of the case. They pointed to Susie's lover, Dominique, as the true culprit, motivated by a desire to claim Susie's divorce settlement. Although Susie did wish to divorce her husband, this did not mean she wanted to live with or marry her lover. If Susie left Dominique, he would have lost everything. After the film's release, public interest in the old case was reignited. Many began to believe that Dominique was the true culprit. As a result, Dominique faced significant harassment and, citing an invasion of privacy, demanded the film's removal and sued the production company. But his case was ultimately dismissed. Despite many believing in Victor's innocence, there were just as many who suspected his guilt. It remains puzzling that Susie is still unaccounted for, with no clear indication of whether she is alive or dead. Some believe Victor killed Susie and hid her body, while others think Dominique, as the real perpetrator, meticulously planned the crime and succeeded in shifting all suspicion onto Victor, executing a perfect crime. In any case, after Victor's acquittal, no one else has been prosecuted in connection with the case. So, is Susie still alive? And if not, who is the true perpetrator? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and see you in the next video.